These two gentlemen, if anyone doesn't know, are probably the premier redfish tournament fishermen in the entire nation.
Don't go too far.
I'll try not to. But they're very well known. They're very good fishermen. They do an excellent job, and I was told today that these gentlemen are actually going to fish in a tournament, so our chances kind of diminished.
I'm not fishing. I'm just going to pay my entry fee. After hearing all of this, seriously, I think Greg's going to.
I'm fishing, yeah.
I'm not. I'm just going to pay my entry fee because from what I'm hearing, and you know, we all got something in common. We all got these zipper scars from these hard valve replacements, and Tiger showed me his, Steve, and I'm like, good God, you sit back and you go, wow, you never know who's had situations like that, but thankfully I'm not a diabetic, so yet.
Yeah. The floor is yours, gentlemen. Thank you guys so
We
much.
appreciate it. Well, first off, I want to thank you guys for inviting us over here. It's from what I just heard. This is actually our first time at this meeting. The club has really got me. I mean, what you guys do and what you guys stand for down here is utterly amazing. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk. We're going to talk some redfish, flat.
And gonna talk over each other all night. So
yeah, we kick each other in the butt all the time.
Hey, look, here's what Greg and I love. We love participation. We can say, we're not gonna go through this how to catch them. Maybe we talk more about where do you look for them so you can catch them.
Different little scenarios, different ideas, but we found out over the years of doing this that you've got something, you might have a question, something, and man, I want to know exactly, ask whatever, and if we can give you our opinion on that, maybe it helps you out. So anybody that has anything, there's no stupid.
Greg and I went, we used to fish, little background, used to fish bass tournaments all through the 80s. Not big bass tournaments, but 5-6 county stuff across the state. Loved it, was pretty good at it, but back then, we were just starting families, just starting careers. We did not know how to go out and garner sponsors. We didn't necessarily want to do that. We loved fishing the weekend jackpot tournaments. Started having families, started fiberglass businesses. But we always saltwater fished. So the Redfish Tour started in 2000. There was this big rumor that just caught blaze across Florida. Florida Redfish, IFA.
Well, early in the mid '90s, we fished a tour called SFFA. Right. Anybody ever remember that? Saltwater Flats Fishing Association. That was a slam deal where you took pictures of whatever you caught, the biggest whatever, and that was good. And Brian and Rick Murphy fished together and just kicked our ass off. Me and my partner just ruined us all the time. And
but that's
kind of what kicked off our saltwater. Here you go. And then in 2000, the Pro Tour started.
IFA rolled into town, and I'll never forget, we had a rod sponsor. I was fly fishing at the time. That's all I would do. Reddington Rods, a guy by the name of Jim Murphy. I went down and talked to him. He struck me and Greg a check. Said, y'all go have fun. We owe that guy everything because he gave us the ability to go out and do it. Now, we both had pretty damn good fiberglass businesses. I mean, we worked all over the state. We were real good the first year, and I told Greg, we made a little deal. We're going to shut the doors and we're going fishing because I didn't want to be 60 one day and didn't think I couldn't do it. So both of us, we think so much alike till there's days on the water in competition, you hear 2 grunts and a nod. You won't hear nothing all day. It just... I'll turn around and get something and look, he'll have his rod in his hand with it on. It's that freaky. So,
and if you ever think about the twin thing, think about that. I mean, there's that ESPN thing going on, and it's scary to think about it. But maybe that's what made us so successful for the next 14 years of fishing. It was unbelievable.
Neither one of us is going to tell you that we're the best redfishmen. There's people in Tampa Bay that will chew us up and spit us out. But now, tournament fishing, when there's there's certain pieces of that puzzle that has to be played, yeah. I mean, we catch 2. Our slot limit is this big, not 18 to 27. It's a ½ inch. If you don't fit that slot limit, you do not win.
The odds
Period.
are bad. Yeah.
We play odds and percentages. It's been days and days and days on the water. The only correlation Greg and I could put to how, when, what, and where was odds and percentages. It was our odds are better doing this, our percentages are better doing that. How do you want to play? And that's how we started the whole tournament process, the whole pre-fish, the whole game plan. You know, you go out there and you pre-fish 4, 5, or 6 days. At the end of that last day, you better have a game plan. That's all I can say. And that you're a winner or a loser.
Yeah. We took that on, and in 2000 we were. Did we win Team of the Year in 2000? It was 2001. 2001. We have Team of the Year in all 3: IFA, FLW, ESPN. The very first ESPN out in Texas. I don't know that either one of he'd been to Texas before. We'd never been fishing. We went out to the inaugural ESPN event. We ended up winning it. How we did it, I don't know. I have not a clue. We found a little area that looked like Punta Gorda, and we milked it. And we ended up winning. That's all I can say. Rhyme or reason, I don't know. Well, you know, it was just, it looked good, it felt good. We stayed there and we worked hard. We just jacked a lot. Then that year, we won Team of the Year for ESPN. Then we went and won the national championship by 2/100ths of a pound. 2/100, a drop of water, tink, and we won. It wasn't meant to be. I don't know. Evidently it was. And we kept on. We kept moving from there. And momentum is key. Yeah, and we'll probably speak about momentum a little bit in the next 30 minutes. But all you guys understand it, whether you're recreational fishing or tournament fishing, momentum is by far your biggest asset. When you feel good, things look good, you're casting good, you catch more fish. That's how we used to operate.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, and here we are today.
Yeah. Probably, I guess we can start talking about gear a little bit. Like I said, you're going to hear us you're going to hear us explain why we go to certain areas, why we move. We're not going to necessarily sit and talk about this is exactly how you can catch them, buddy. You can catch them on a red piece of yarn or a piece of potato chip bag. We've caught them in Louisiana.
We're going to throw Louisiana. How many guys have ever been to Louisiana?
It doesn't
red
matter.
fishing. How is it? Is it, and you come back to Florida and you just want to kick yourself in the butt, don't you?
Well,
You do.
live here. Yeah.
So we're going to throw Louisiana.
I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I'm going to piss everybody off. We have the worst fishing in the Southeast.
Really?
By far. From North Carolina to South Padre, Florida has the worst.
Maybe not the worst fishing, but maybe the worst catching ratio.
Now, I didn't say that to be mad or anybody be a hater. I'm just telling you.
Okay, explain why. I thought.
First of all, the only thing me and Greg can figure, we don't have all the barrier islands and all the cover, all the back bays.
It's the estuary.
All the estuaries.
It's thousands of miles of habitat.
We have tons of fish.
Yeah, we still got a ton of
People
fish.
can say what they want to, but there's 200 and 300 school fish running out there right now. We have fish. They are so educated. They know exactly, is that a Minn Kota or a motor guide? They know exactly. Trust me, they do. They know exactly how close.
How many guys over here have seen a school of fish move? And you ease that troll motor. You go 6 feet and they go 6 feet. You can run them for 6 miles. And they're always right there.
Hey, answer this. How many times have you ever heard, and I just heard this, and I'm sure some of y'all have too on the radio, and I'm not being a hater. If you want to find a school, just zip your troll motor 2 or 3 times. And you see them raise up. Okay. You know, that's trying like shooting deer, you know, out of a barrel. You goose him. You got one shot to get in front of him. That's it. Same way with a redfish. There's a lot of things to look for out there. If you're looking for a school of reds, there's a lot of things out there. besides zipping them up and making them rumble. You know, when they're rumbling, remember they're moving. They're gone. You know, where are they going to sit now? You can sit and watch them until they stop. Well, we watch the sun go down, and then you know that's just the way it goes.
Yep.
Here in Florida, we love spinning gear. We were bait casting guys from the word go. That's all we ever threw, bait casting gear. It got to where in Florida, the only thing we could use is spinning gear. 7 to 7.5 foot rods, 10-pound braided line, 20 to 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, 2 to 3 feet, whatever you pick.
And there's days that I thought 30 pounds was a little too much. And like I say, and I have to reiterate, we got to throw Louisiana, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina. We got to move all of them because we're in Florida today. So we'll end up talking more about how we done well.
Here's the only thing you need to understand about Florida fish. Not that there's not exceptions to this rule, but remember this, odds and percentages. The farther you can throw your bait, the more bites you're going to get, by far. No, there's no ifs, there's no ands, there's no buts.
And there are certain days you find them real happy and they're flashing out there, and you
find them up against the trees. That's, you know, you can sit on. We've been in situations where we'll take 3/4 ounce egg sinkers and put on the bottom of our leader, tie a 1/0 hook, make a drop shot rig. Believe it if you want to. 60, 70 yards.
Far as we can go, man.
Just tighten the line up with that braid, because with that braid you can set the hook there just like you can set it right here. That's the big benefit of using braids. So you don't always have to do that, but if you're going to play odds and percentages and catch fish, you're going to. You're going to have to figure that out. The right rod, the right reel, 10-pound line, and if it takes a 1-ounce sinker, hey, that don't matter to those fish. You're going to sit there and you're going to throw it in that mullet school. You're going to throw it in that mullet run out there. You're going to sit and you're going to just dead stick. And all of a sudden that rod's going to get, and you're going to catch him out of that deep of water, 1.5 feet. Ain't no biggie. As long as he don't know you're there, he don't care. So, you know, there's a way of catching him. Telling you spots, me and Greg's we got maps at home that I bet you we got every pothole mark between here and the cut all the way out. It doesn't, that doesn't matter. Those fish swim, they have tails, they do different things. Spinning gear, that's basically, for Florida, that rig right there pretty much.
And it's been used too, so don't look at that. Really used. 1/4 ounce jig head, by far. A lot of guys are throwing 1/8 ounce, trying to be spot specific or real shallow. 1/4 ounce is 99% of everything we do. There's times we go to 3/8 of an ounce jig head. Everything we do is about distance. Think about that. Distance.
Yeah, there's times when the tide comes in, it's a little deeper. They
get a little happy, yeah. So what you're doing out on the flats, what we look at on the flats, we might be in a vast open area. We have targets out there, and 99% of our targets are sandy edges, sandy holes. And that's what we're looking at. We don't, very seldom do we ever get out there and just blind cast. It's a target, sand hole. Might make 2 casts in it. Most of the time, if you make that 1 cast in it, he eats it, boom, if he's there. Sometimes the second cast gets a bite. You know, 3 or 4 casts in it, your percentages go down. Okay, make a shot. Okay, not there. Make a shot. And that's how we fish these vast open flats. If I had to pick one bait, period, one bait, hands down, I had to use tomorrow to go fishing, it would be a Gulp 4-inch sinking minnow, watermelon red, little, like a Cinco. You guys know what a Cinco is. Who knows what a watermelon? Who knows what a 4-inch Gulp is? A sinking minnow. Little, nothing like your finger. It looks like, you just forget it. In Florida, I'm telling you, it's like a little 4-inch Cinco.
3-inch shred's good. This is what we do our gulp. We just.
Yeah, and I didn't
Just
bring mine
mix it.
'cause they're stinky. That's by far, if I had to go catch redfish, that would be what I would use, the gulp. And really, I can look in that gulp box and just pull out anything. There's something about that gulp that has me and Brian, we had the first bag of cigar-shaped gulps, I don't know, 13 years ago. Hey, y'all try these out and see if they work. And, you know, I'm telling you what, the scent of these baits are just unbelievable.
But there's a lot of things out there anymore. I'm gonna just throw some of this around. This is some Bass Assassin little tapper stuff. You know,
This is kind of
check these
the
out.
4-inch gulp.
That's typical of
couldn't make
that
them about
worm
3 years
that
ago.
we use on a jig head. That by far, I don't know what it is about that worm and a 3-inch shrimp here. We don't ever throw 4-inch shrimp. It's always 3-inch shrimp.
Smaller baits always tend to be better here.
That catches more fish. Yep. Some of the Greg spoke of potholes and edges, and that's the big thing we look for. You've heard this 100,000 times, but it's true. Mullet. If there's a school of mullet out there that's any size to the school, there's redfish in it. Whether you catch them or not, they're in it. They're in it or around it. A lot of times you'll go out there on certain tides and you'll see these mullets. These mullets and tarpons do the same thing. They'll run these edges on incoming or outgoing, or they'll be up in the mangroves. Anytime you see mullets jumping, if you're fishing somewhere and down there 400 or 500 yards, you see all the mullet, there's no mullet here, go there.
Now the mullet, they're just starting at the bottom for the red.
Mullets are they're bottom feeders, and all the reds are doing are in there eating the little shrimps and the crabs. It's a no-brainer.
They're starting at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest key indicator. Another big key indicator, you're riding out like right now on this low water. You're easing around the channel and you're looking out there on the flats and the edges, and you see all of a sudden you see 6 or 8 white birds out there feeding on a maybe it's all dry land, and all of a sudden the water runs back up and it pockets out like that, and there's 6 or 8 white birds there. Mark that spot, you know, and then come back to it when the water's coming up or something, because anywhere those white birds are feeding, there's bait, there's food there, crustaceans. That's where the redfish are going to go. That's a good indicator. The birds, the mullet. When the water's clear enough, you can see the bottom edges. Don't ever get out there on a big, lush turtle grass flat and stop and go, wow, honey, ain't this pretty.
Unless you're trout. If you're trout fishing, stop on it. Yeah. If you're not trout fishing, don't stop on it.
Just because it's pretty, that don't mean nothing. Stop on some. You get out there throwing across that old turtle grass, it's real thick. I mean, you'll float all the way for a mile. Ah, man, these fish ain't here. You know, well, that ain't what they want. All of a sudden, it breaks into what we call broken bottom, where you start seeing potholes. You start seeing that grass fall off, and it turns into rolling moss, then grass again. And a big pothole, half as big as this room. Put your power pole down and start fishing. Because that structure to those fish. Structures in water this deep or 200 feet. Structure. Just like bass fishing. You know, those bass, they ain't going to lay just across an old flat carpet bottom. You know, you might go across a big old flat carpet bottom and all of a sudden somebody threw a refrigerator out down there. Well, that's where all the fish are going to be. It's structure. It's something different. Same way in salt water. You can look out across there. You see that broken bottom, or you see the water's real clean and it's real grassy, and all of a sudden it gets dark. Then it's grassy again. That's a channel. That's a super duper highway, buddy. Get in that thing and fish the edges of it and see where it goes. And there's some spots up in northern Tampa Bay that are just like that. Everybody knows about it. Nobody fishes it but me and Greg for the most part. Thank goodness. You know, y'all don't want to look at it, but there's some spots up there that ain't nothing but sand. And then all of a sudden you really get to looking at it, and it's got whoop-de-doos in it. It's got little dark spots in it. It's got little cuts in it. Ooh, son.
Hey, and while I'm thinking about it,
that's good stuff.
Hold on, stop right there while I'm thinking.
Oh, you're fixing that.
Hold on. I got a serious
Y'all
question.
might have to
come off of something for me and Brian. We've got a little power pole tournament Saturday. Don't talk to your buddies. I don't want the guys at work to know. We need a trout spot and a flounder spot.
Somewhere near Gandy.
Where's
Gandy.
Bishop's Harbor.
Well, that's not,
That ain't near Gandy.
that's close enough, though.
8 miles, 7 mile range.
Yeah. Trounder. Trounder.
I heard.
Trounder.
Okay.
A bunch of trounder in there?
Dang.
I mean, like 29, 28, 27-inch trout at 4th Street.
That's what I was gonna say, 4th Street.
Go 4th Street.
Flats.
Who's that? Where's that?
Coquina Key Flats.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
4th Street.
I'm not fishing with you. You can't hear it.
It's loaded. It's loaded with trout. That's my equipment. We make the little trout rigs, you know.
They're not little.
I'm out there, man. I'm getting them 18, 24 inches.
Coquina Key.
Yeah.
That ain't what he said.
That's a long way.
He said cockroach key. Anyway, okay, that's a good start. Look, anybody got any questions
That's
so
good.
far?
That's good.
What about ringbacks or pinfish?
Brother,
Nice call.
what about greenbacks and pinfish?
Yeah.
They work.
How about
Yeah, they work. Me and
jig
Greg.
heads and ladyfish chunks?
Yeah.
Hey, look, we're really not live bait guys, so I'm not
Silver's gonna work for a
I'm
trout.
not gonna stick into that.
Silver's
too
gonna
deep.
work for the trout.
But I will say this. There's times down in Punta Gorda, and there's times on Joe's Island, where you can take a ladyfish, chunk him up, and skip him under them trees and catch everybody that lives there.
They agree.
Yeah. Now, tide's got to be just right, and everything's, the stars got to line up. Down in Punta Gorda, when you go to Punta Gorda, when that water gets to a 2-1 or a 2-2 and rising, which is like almost full and getting full, not everyone, but you'll think every redfish for 10 miles goes to the trees. They do. They'll go to those little islands. Me and Greg used to go down there and we would pre-fish. We'd catch us 8 or 10 of them ladyfish and we'd chunk them up and use nothing but a 2-aught hook on a spinning reel and skip them under them trees. And by the time you shut the bell down, he's yanking on. I mean, they're that aggressive to what's down there. So, that's a good way to find fish. Great way to catch fish.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they work, but I don't live bait. I will cut bait. But there's times pinfish work better than that.
Yeah, the plastics, you just throw them into the holes and you just jig it up and down a little bit.
Remember this about plastics. I'm not talking Watts way. I'm talking odds and percentages.
Yeah.
I gotta get that, cause look, like I said, I can say something and there's always an exception to it. Greg can too. You got potholes and you got edges. Anytime you can let that bait hit the bottom and pick it up, I don't mean swoop it up this far.
Yeah.
I'm talking 6 inches off the bottom.
Yeah.
Tighten that line up and bump that rod up. Bump it up. Bump it up. That cadence. Anytime you can do that, fish the edges, throw in the middle, fish the edges of those potholes, especially the ones that you almost can't see to the bottom of.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying? The ones that's probably in this much water.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of them right out here. A lot of people miss fishing the outside of this bar. The outside of this bar. Go down through there, fish it relatively quick, but don't just swoop that rod. Don't that don't cut it. Because those fish are staging up.
Yeah, we had a little joke on us years ago because we used to call it tickling the bottom, and that was a lot of guys would. Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, people
But I
don't know how
mean,
to
it
fish
was
slow.
a long cast, and 3 or 4 feet of water. that rod tip's just doing this. I mean, you might be moving it quick, but you're doing it. Mentally, you're thinking about, how do I keep that bait no more than 3 or 4 inches off the bottom, but keep it moving. And mentally, I think of this. Mentally, I'm saying, I want that jig head to hit, and it's little, little. I don't even know if it's tough,
Right.
but it's a sound. It's a tink, 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 tink. And sometimes I think that's a track. That's enough for them to pick it up on it. If I were trout fishing, I'd work it quick. I'd work it high.
So you're basically putting it like you would a drop shot in bass fishing. Same little twitch.
Yeah, just
Slow on the bottom.
most people have the tendency of overdoing it.
Right.
Most people have never threw a bait in the water, and if you ever pitch your bait out, especially like that gentleman right there, pitch it out in 3 foot of water and work it like you ordinary, and watch it. That thing will jump that high off the bottom. Right. Slow it down.
That's why I think it's drop shot. Because you just
Slow it down.
Exactly.
you're just twitching.
That works way better than. Now, I'm not going to tell you you're not going to catch a boatload. Do it another way one day. I'm just going to tell you the odds say this is how you catch.
Anywhere that, this has been our thing. Anywhere that redfish, mouse on the bottom, and you think about this. Even we're talking about small baits. We've used the small baits a lot of places. Even a say a 30-inch red, he got a little old mouth on it, but it's down. Anything close to the bottom, we were figuring that fish could get up there and go, boom!
Yeah. The big
He
thump
doesn't have to sit here and try to catch it. That's like a topwater plug. Years and years ago, Marilure, Eric Botnick probably builds the best topwater baits we've ever used. Maridines are absolutely fantastic. If there's a bad thing about a maridine, a redfish will choke it.
7M arbors are no good, so y'all don't use them.
No good.
Best bait ever
We
built.
used to throw a lot of top dogs and top pups. But what would happen, and we've been on patterns like this where I'd either stand behind Brian on the tower while he's topwater and I would never catch until you saw that push. Because you knew he was going to waller that bait, and 9 times out of 10 he missed it the first time. Whoever's on the back goes.
50 behind.
That was our pattern for a long time.
Instant.
Get him excited with top water, hit him with
And how many times have
That
you ever?
deadhead guy standing behind whoever had
That
the
was
top
the guy
water,
going to catch him.
he just sat there cocked and ready.
Exactly.
That was just.
But how many times have you guys ever had? And this happened early in our fishing career when we started learning about, hey, he gets the bite, but God, we just can't get him in the boat. You play, he ate a topwater plug, and you play him, and he's hooked over here in the head, and he goes right by the boat, and he comes out. God dang.
Million times.
And that's why we said, you know what, it's top waters. I mean, and there's a time, there's a certain, and in my opinion, I'm thinking you've got about 4 to 5 weeks a year that they'll just crush the top water. I don't know why, but they do, and they eat it good. The rest of the time, you can find them, and they'll push up on it, or they'll waller it, and they'll have it here. I mean, and the odds of getting that, now you're off your drag. Oh God.
I'm going to make 2 statements, and you can pick either one you want. Treble hooks are no good for tournament fishing.
I don't think
Period.
so either.
No good. The landing ratios are 50% at best. So if you're going to tournament fish, do it a different way. For fun fishing, for taking your kids, taking your family, you just want to go and have a
As long
great
as your wife knows how
day.
to cast with a treble hook.
Stay all the way away from it with a treble hook, pal.
It's so much fun.
You ever tried to pull a treble hook out with that little string trick, knowing the other 2 are looking at?
Ask him about it.
So, if you know your percentages, you guys are talking slot fish and a quantity of fish. The tournament is largest fish. What do your books say for the largest fish? You're looking for one fish, the biggest one out there. What do you do?
Well, if it were me and I'm thinking about September 27th, I'm cutting ladyfish chunks and I'm going chunking.
There you go.
But here again, I know you're thinking. Hold on, keep your thought.
I know it hurts.
This is
My ears smoking.
Yeah, they are. This is, as Brian was saying earlier, we used back in the height of things, we would run 16, 18 tournaments a year. Each one of those tournaments, we were pre-fishing 5 to 6 days before the event started, unless they were like back to back. You ended up on Saturday, now I'm driving all day Sunday to get to the next one, but you still had those days. You're talking about a certain size fish. Now, whether that fish is South Carolina 23 incher, it doesn't matter, or it's Louisiana 45 incher. You still practice to find out where those big ones live and what did they do. The key to catching that big one is being where they live. You just can't, and I don't know, but I wouldn't think you could drop right out here in front of Apollo Beach and catch a 40 incher right now, opposed to, listen to this, somebody else said it too, going to Fort DeSoto right now and catching it. You see what I'm saying?
As big as they live in Fort DeSoto, that's my opinion.
Yeah, so being around them is your odds. Could you catch that 38 incher on a gulp shrimp and a 1/4 ounce jig head? Absolutely, if you put it in front of him and he's wanting to eat. Are the odds better if you give him a big old piece of cut lady fish 2 inches long on a jig head? You ain't kidding.
You know, I think the guy that, if I had to fish this tournament, like I said, I'm probably not. I would be out in water at least this deep.
Well, see, that's where you're wrong.
And you'd go through a lot of catfish before you caught that big 38, 40 inch.
Yeah.
Because they're there. Do I think they're going to be up in this much water? He can be, but you think of this. We go to Louisiana. We're catching tournament fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're in this much water.
This is right. Yeah.
We go 2 miles out into the bay in this much water. We have a 44 incher on and one eating the cork off the rig.
When you was in Louisiana, did you ever throw a popping cork?
Oh, yes. Big time.
And that popping cork lasted about 3 fish if you're lucky. Because the one you had on, you just fight him, you'd feel, and you'd come back with, nothing but old broke up cork. I mean, these fish out there are just.
I'm not so sure that won't work out here too. But we just never really went out and targeted all those big ones. We'd go to Louisiana and play with them, but after 2 or 3, I'm done.
But we would look. It would take. And here's the other part of the equation that really kind of gets you. Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, whenever it is, your tournament starts on Thursday or Friday, whichever trail you were running. I found a school, and I'd call Brian. I got them. God, they're big and they're fat and they're eating crabs, and we got the right ones. They're 26 inches and they're weighing 7.5, 8 pounds. Now I got to think about. Let's see. Oh man, the tide. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The tide's going to be the same tide at 8:30 at night. The tournament's over at 3. This is what you think about, and you're like, oh God, where are they going to be? And and the biggest thing about saltwater fishing is tidal related. Very few times did we ever enter a little realm of, well, when the tide goes out, I know they're going to sit right there. Most of the times when the tide goes out and I lose them, it's like, I've been all over. I don't know where they go. It's like sometimes they just appear. So now the tide is a big factor to what we were doing, but that's the reason we're looking at them, trying to figure them out 5 or 6 days ahead of time. Like Brian was saying, when the tournament morning, when you fire that motor, you better have a plan. And I'll have to say that there's been tournaments that we said when they called our number, we got them. We're going to win it. We're going to win it. We'd go out there and catch 2 little ones, just fighting. And there's days that we said, Brian, I don't know where we're going, man. And Brian would say, let's go there. And we'd go and we'd win. I mean, that's fishing. But the biggest thing is having that plan and knowing what you're going to do. We've done better knowing that.
And that could be, and just like y'all fishing for this big redfish. I mean, you got to know the day before the tournament. Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm fishing with. This is where I'm going. Regardless of the outcome, we all want to win. But you got to play that game. You got to fight that fight. And at the end of the day, you win or you lose by a ½ inch. But you've done your best.
Does anybody think the winning fish will come out of Safety Harbor area?
No. Damn good chance.
Does Does anybody think it'll
They
come
could.
closer to the Skyway?
Yeah.
Manatee,
Port Manatee?
Port Manatee, the other side of the Skyway, Manatee River.
Fort DeSoto, where it's gonna be, Tarpon Key.
Right out here.
Been
I
near
got
the
a big-
Gandy Bridge,
I think so.
fighting off that big drum, and every now and again you catch a redfish in there, you know?
I ain't got enough gas to run all the way up there.
I'm just fishing the tournament, I need a place to start.
That's for last year's winter. Where was last year's winter caught?
Tarpon Key.
Over yonder.
Over yonder,
Early in the morning.
down the road by the red marker.
All right.
You guys are
Any questions?
Clammed up.
Who's got something?
So basically, just go fish where you know. That'd be one of the biggest things.
I would say if you know there's been big reds caught there.
Right.
That's what I would do, then your odds are better.
For the tournament.
Well, if
yeah.
you're like me, you're new to the area. I mean, I grew up here, but I haven't been in the bay for 30 years, and then you come back. I've only had minor opportunities to go fishing, at least out of my boat. So you're not going to go run up to Gandy Bridge if you don't have a clue what you're doing.
Can you fish Egmont Key?
Yes, but you can't fish the west side of Egmont Key.
You stay on
Fish
the
inside,
inside.
you can't fish
You
outside.
can fish
Inside
inside
part.
the bay. You can't fish on the bay side of Egmont Key.
The Gulf side.
Gulf side.
Golf side.
Gulf side.
See, that's only a 10-minute run from me.
There's no refuge over at Egmont.
Go back to the goal. You said use reaching grab. You're not color sensitive?
In Florida, I am. I'll be honest. And if I get out of Florida, I could. Me and Brian used to say we're going to
We're in
Louisiana.
Florida, so what are you sensitive to?
Watermelon red. That's just me. That's
Jighead, you don't care
Any
what
color,
jighead is?
any color jig head, as long as it's chartreuse.
Yeah.
So you're like the watermelon red pretty much, no matter what.
there has been. Speaking about that chartreuse and Punta Gorda, I don't know if it has to do with the rain and the tannin water. You guys, you know when it rains the first of the year, March, April, the water gets kind of dirty color. Red seems to be more predominant. But it's on
when it's clear.
chartreuse.
But I mean, not a lot, as far as the actual, the plastic.
Watermelon red.
We're still at that one water.
You know,
Watermelon, molten, and new penny.
I just throw
Seems to
watermelon.
work. Yeah, he just does new penny. Watermelon.
So you don't really worry about the player.
And there again, it could be a confidence thing, but my confidence is watermelon red because I've caught so many fish on it. And it's just unbelievable.
Because I was fishing the harbor this past weekend, and I was fishing spots that was just as clear as could be, and then I was fishing spots I couldn't see the bottom at 18 inches of water. Of course, we didn't catch a redfish all weekend long because we couldn't get the snow caught those.
That's a problem, isn't it?
It got frustrating, I'll be honest with you. So, we're fishing a redfish tournament, and caught 100 snook.
Dang.
So,
Just in the wrong spot.
when you
I'll make
get
that
all the way to the right spot.
I'll make that assumption using the wrong redfish hook.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
On the plastic, shrimp or paddle tail?
Shrimp.
If you're given the only two, yeah, shrimp.
And bring a lot of them with you. Pufferfish will tear you up out here.
I think it will.
We throw a lot of this stuff too. We throw a lot of these little tappers because they're just a little worm. And I think what it has to do is it's a smaller presentation. I mean, I can take that color and catch fish. I can take white. I mean, you can catch fish on a lot of different things. Me personally, I think it's the size of the bait a lot of times as far as what the fish really want to eat as far as presentation. So, I mean, if you're out there and there's just schools and scads, this new bait, you throw a big bait out there, you might catch it. They might eat that one day. But the odds here again say, 3 inch, a little worm, something smaller, something not so intimidating. And here, let me say this again about guys. Y'all ever get out there and see the fish? You throw at him, and boy, he just takes off and runs. Everybody does that. You make cast. Pretty much right here in Florida, especially down there in Punta Gorda, if you throw your bait to a fish, say you start out 4 foot in front of him, and it hits the water easy, and he turns and spooks. Next time you throw 8 foot in front of him, he don't spook, but here he comes. Boy, you're sitting there, you're cocked and loaded. When he gets about 2 foot from him, you show it to him. When you shake it, boy, it takes off. Most people will just keep trying to shake it and show it to them. Because typically they think that's the thing to do. They saw that so many times. Down here, me and Greg have got it used to years ago. Throw it to him. You show it to him one time. If the first fish blows out, you never show it to him again. Throw that bait out there, and it's the hardest thing to do, to know where your bait is and watch that fish. And you literally, if you've got to pull it to you 2 feet, you hold the rod tip down and drag it in the grass and just hold it. If he finds it, he'll eat it. If you show it to him, he blows. I mean, they get that critical at times. So, not just something to remember when you're out there practicing. Anytime you make a presentation, it don't work. Don't make that presentation again, because typically for that day, it's not going to work. So, and that goes with a lot of fish, not just redfish.
Yeah, and there's been a few times on the Simmons Park, a little between Simmons Park and Apollo Beach. You guys ever fish that little flat out there, that little sandy junk out there? Even up north on the North Flat too, there's not. But there's times that, and it typically is a lot better January, February, March, April. But those little wads will come by, 25, 30 fish, and you throw a bait in there, and if you ever move it, you can see them go around it. There's been times that I could put a gulp crab on, throw it in there, and they just, boom, just eat it. Then I'm not so sure that time of the year there might be a little crab hatch or something going on. But it's usually the fish don't change. You have to. You have to think about making a different presentation of that fish to get him to eat it. So that's the toughest thing. Knowing there's 15 fish right there, and they didn't eat it. God.
Yes, sir.
That gulp crab, you put that on the same jig head, Jim?
Yeah, I take the old crab and just impale it long ways. Yeah. It's hard. We thought years ago, man, that'd be the perfect little sock fishing bait. You ever tried to throw one, 45, 50 feet it's tough. So you just throw it out there ahead of them and you just let them come to it. And like Brian said, I mean, you're just sitting there. You just sit there, and it's sometimes it's better to close your eyes, because with that braid you can feel him. You don't even want to move it. You don't want to twitch it, because we've done that many times out here on this Apollo Beach flat. And when you see, and you guys, I know y'all seen them. There'll be a black mass coming, and they'll get over it, and you'll think, oh, they're right there at it. You go. Yeah,
you'll get so caught up you can't stand it.
And then them fish go all around it, and you're like, oh. But if you just leave it there, and you'll feel them run into your line, and I don't know that they swim by, and and here's the terrible thing. You'll look out there and you'll see some good ones. You'll hook him up. It'll be a damn jack about that long. You guys ever do that? Yeah. How in the world does the jack pick it up? But
something that Greg didn't say. When you're throwing in the sand holes, the more pinfish you have thumping that bait, leave it. Just leave it. Don't move it. Because all they're doing there, you got a built-in fish attractor. When 30 or 40 of them get around there, Big Daddy comes on. You'll be sitting there, pump. That's what happens. Pinfish go away, redfish go in there and gone with it. Any questions?
Do you guys, what kind of records do you keep when you fish and stuff? Do you guys find it important to keep, logs of where you're catching and your
memory, man. Mine's getting bad. Greg still got some of his.
And usually on our Humminbird units, we'll save tracks and stuff. And if you get on a good wad, and usually not, we're from here, so everything's kind of fresh. toughest tournament we have ever fished is Punta Gorda, because you only know about 40 places, and it's like, sometimes you never give a spot enough. And like I say, tide is really your element anywhere down here, I think. Louisiana, I mean, you keep your tracks, and if you find a pond, and you've been there, so you know what I'm talking about. You'll run the pop line ditch. You'll cut in this pond and go in here, and you'll get back into a little trenasse, and it'll open up to an area, and it'll be freshwater. It'll be bass. You know, the hydrilla growing, and you're like, you mark it so you understand where you're at. But in Louisiana, that is the key. That's finding those little freshwater ponds, because those redfish, they live there, they stay there.
Places on their GPS.
They don't have to run.
And you got to understand, as many days as you're on the water, if you stayed on the water all the time, it would just, I tell you this, it got to where, and we're not the fish wizards, but it got to where the shade of light, the amount of sunlight coming through clouds, was there a lot of light, not much light, would literally change our minds about where we were at or what we were doing. Literally the shades of what was out there. That might be taking it too deep, but you see that shade of light so many times, and you fish it for 3 hours, and you're like, you move. And one of the big key things that I can tell anglers that want to go out and learn to fish, don't be afraid to move. You know, if something don't look right, go 2 miles, go a mile, you know, go a half a mile. Find the break in the bar. Find something. Find something a little different.
Yeah, and the biggest key, Brian touched on it earlier, this is something we look for no matter, you know, our area was South Padre, Texas, all around Florida, all the way up to almost Nags Head, North Carolina. One of the biggest things, and there's been days, I don't want to say days, I know we've casted a few times during the day, there's been hours that we would just run. And not 80 miles an hour, but we might run 30, 35, and we're looking and we're mapping and we're looking. Bait was the most important, and mullet is prolific. It's just, we'd see, but in mullet is that little animal that says, here's a different piece of structure here. Here's something a little different. And then mullet, we used to call them stringing. You would see them stringing, and once we troll motor to pull it over there, we'd see, I mean, there's like a little edge that they just kind of follow, and that's perfect structure. We would run and we'd say, so damn mullet school's sitting here, and the tides, you know, and mullet are kind of predicting on what the tide's doing. We'd try to figure that out, but the bait was the key. And even Punta Gorda is one of those places where mullet's very good. Even around the broken up, and I'm saying broken up bottom, and we're talking about grass. We're not talking about dead hard sand bottom, but we're talking about little spotty broken bottom areas. The real thick turtle grass was never our target, and I've seen more redfish on top of it. And I bet I've not caught 4 in my life over that stuff. It's just tough. I don't know why they don't eat it.
Yeah, they're moving.
The broken up stuff is always better, and you would be drifting across there, or troll mooning across there, and you'd see little pinfish flashing everywhere. Y'all seen all that? Bait, man, all the fish has got to do is eat. And that's where we wanted to be. Whether it was North Carolina on a bar and the mullet stringing, and which, you know, but when you get up there, you're throwing a lot of crankbaits, you're throwing a lot of spinner baits, and Louisiana, you're throwing a lot of anything with a single hook in it, because they eat anything. We've caught 40 reds on a jig head, nothing on it. All the bait's gone weird, and it sounds stupid.
Meaning to do it.
And then go to Texas and you're out in
don't just stop and fish purdy, guys, because purdy don't.
Yeah.
Fish something. I mean, mullets or birds or bottom. It's got to be something. You know, purdy, there's too much purdy out there.
Trinity Bay out in Houston, Texas, 9 feet of water, and you look across there and you see one big mud slick over there. It runs about 100 yards. And you go over there and you make a cast with a crankbait and you catch an 8-pound red. Where it's I don't know, you can't tell. I don't know if it's 5 redfish or 500, but they're just chewing the bottom up in 9 feet of water and having a big mud cloud.
Or
I mean, things you look at down there. So wherever you go, fishing's a little bit different. But like I say, Florida, it's hard to beat a jig head. A jig head and a gulp, a jig head and a plastic. A spoon is absolutely great for making long casts.
Yeah, Greg's got a big bag here. I don't have a big bag of stuff. The top 3 baits for me in Florida, jig head with a gulp or a plastic. I love a 3/4 ounce Johnson spoon. I can reel it, I can burn it. And then a drop shot.